Hold up, let me fuck it up.
Hey there! Today I want to break down the remix I made on Colaps' Fuck It Up song. For the little story, the project was born thanks to another idea that I had, and this idea had no relation at all with the Colaps' Fuck It Up song. Let me explain. The original idea was to remix Dilo vs Colaps 2018 GBB battle. I started this idea on July 2023, and here's what I came up with.
Collapse to the floor cause we do it like dynamite.
That was a rough idea, of course. I spent only 2 hours on this. I like the idea of it and how it sounds, to be honest. I like the vibe, but it was pretty hard to deal with a live audio with the reverb and the crowd sounds. Many of the cuts could be heard. And as it is a live audio, the timing isn't perfect, so I had to cut pretty much to make a good timing. And when you deal with live audio, it is really hard to know what is the exact tempo. And as the timing isn't perfect, it was really hard to put everything on the grid.
Battled once, now we battled twice. Collapse to the floor cause we do it like dynamite. Came through once, now we show it twice.
So here you see the cut can be heard, but of course it can be better. Most of the cuts here are okay, so I'm pretty happy with what I came up with, but it took too much time and the audio wasn't how I wanted it to be. And that's why I wanted to go for a cleaner audio, and Colaps songs were perfect for this. The first step for making this track was to cut the audio out of the original track and make the sounds over it. In the first place, I set the BPM of the track to the BPM of the main drop. And then, as a rough sketch, I decided to go for the drums over the beatbox, and I added some clicks as well and speed snares, which I recorded to keep the vibe of the track. I also kept the nasal bass from the original track, so that's the original track, and I put it here as a bass with some mix. There's some EQs. I put sidechain on the bass for the kicks to shine, and I layered the bass with another bass sample with sidechain as well. The whole thing sounds like this with the drums. You can notice here there are some sounds which I added over the clicks and the speed snares, because that's how it is in the original track. Starting with the kicks, here are the layers. So you can find a reverse kick, the main kick, a noise hi-hat layer over the kick, and a clap layer over another kick. Moving on to the snares, here are all the layers, with some reverse claps here. You also have the beatbox elements like the clicks and the kisses. So it keeps the groove and the vibe of the original track. The drop in the original song, which is 8 bars long, and I decided to make it 16 bar long so I have more time to play with the leads and the drums. And the break for the 9th bar is this. This break isn't present in the original track, but this is a break that Colaps does in other tracks, so to me it fits perfectly. We'll talk about the bass and the leads later, but here's what the break transitions to. You can notice that the break leads to a higher pitch lead, which is an octave up. So that's the second part of the drop with the higher lead, and you have also some hi-hat loop. It's really subtle, but it adds something in my opinion. Drum-wise, I also added a kick each beat for the build-up. And the original track doesn't have these kicks. And then comes the second drop, in which you can find many drum details. In this drop, I decided to entirely keep the beatbox of Colaps, which I cut for better timing, and you have to know that it is not the case in the first drop. I didn't keep the whole beatbox, I only kept the nasal bass here. Besides the bass that I kept, I also kept the voices. Some speed snares are remaining, and with the nasal bass it sounds like this. And then what makes the Colaps-like style is the clicks and the speed snare that I added over it. Okay, so back to the second drop. There are the kicks, the snares, and one it's pretty much scratchy, I like it, this one. And there are other percussion details from cymatics, some of mine, like the hollow clap. And I like this sound, it makes the thing so crispy. That's so groovy, I love it. And over the beatbox it sounds like this. And with the bass, and finally there's this part in which I will keep the beatbox only. I can't do it, but I added layers over the clicks to do this. Without the beatbox, that's a cool layer in my opinion. And with all the elements, I think drums and beatbox wise I covered everything, maybe besides the bridge and the intro, in which there's lots of cuts in the beatbox.
Are you ready?
But I love using FL Studio because you can make so many cuts without being heard. You see all the cuts here, because I think the initial track is a bit slower in this part, so that's why I had to cut so much. I say I love using FL Studio for the cuts and stuff like this, but you can also do it in Ableton, Logic Pro, and so many other DAWs. Let's now cover the basses. So you have the nasal bass of Colaps. In the main drop, it's actually a snore bass, as it is made inwards. I can't do it as good, but you got the point. I call it nasal bass because it is made through the nose, but there also exists another bass in beatbox, which is the nasal bass, and it can be made outward. I can't do it really good, but I think Dilip and Jular are good with this bass. So most of the basses are samples. In the first part, the bass sounds the same. It's the same note playing, but there are some variations with other samples. This one, for example. Also this. So you have the sample, and there is another bass playing, which is from an old synthesizer, which I love. The intro uses other bass samples, and the second drop as well. So you can see in the mixer track that most of the basses use OTTs and distortion. OTT is really good on bass. I love the texture it gives. For example, this bass has OTTs and distortion with Camel Crusher, which is a free plugin. OTT is actually free. And here the difference when I disable the OTT. So OTT is off here and OTT is on here. It really makes a difference. OTT is a multiband upwards and downwards compressor, and you can use different knobs like high, mid, and lows. You can also use the upwards and downwards compression knobs and the depth, which is like a dry wet signal. So yeah, I mix most of my basses with OTTs and EQing and distortion. There's also a cool trick that I want to share with you. To understand the trick, please use headphones because it will be about sub-basses, sub-bass frequencies. So you need headphones or good speakers. So the trick that I want to share with you is on the click rolls. You can layer the click rolls with a sub-bass sample like this. Boom, 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 boom. Please use headphones if you are not doing it. Those are really low frequencies and it does boom, 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 boom over the click roll. So both at the same time, it sounds like this. Without, with, it enhances the low sub frequencies. Besides the bass, there are also brass samples. I love the brass because it emphasizes the kicks, for example. In this case here, with the kicks, there is sidechain, you can hear. And in the context of the beat, here it is on the snare. The brasses play different notes. Keep in mind, it is really good to emphasize the drums. About the texture of the brass, I use a plugin that's called Capsule, in which you can find different instrument textures, and in this case, the brass is this. You can play whatever note you want, you can even make chords. That's pretty cool. To emphasize the drop as well, the main drop, the first one, I use chord sample, same with Capsule. I will show you with rendered audio. I'm talking about this sound. If I disable it, in the whole context of the track, if I disable it, something's missing, you know? Let's put it back. And it occurs at some other parts. So you have it on the kick here, but in the counter beat here also. So it creates sort of a reverse effect and it brings back the bounce. If I disable it, enabled. These chords are also present in the second drop. And in the second part of the drop, which is pretty cool, on the kicks. Here in this case, the chords play with another bass, a yonk that I forgot to talk about, both at the same time. Okay, with the kicks. Ah. Okay, in the whole context. Great. As I rendered the chords in the breakdown project, this is the original project. I want to show you the chords, basically these chords. And I also wanted to share with you the texture of the chords. So I'm using this plugin and this preset. Then you can deal with the parameters. Okay, there are also some plucks at the intro. I'm actually playing the melody that Colaps does at the intro of the Beatbox song. And for the instrument, I just took Colaps' voice as a sample and I just pitched it in the piano roll. I processed it with various effects like equalization, transient shaper, since it's a plug, exciter for extra frequencies, extra harmonies, EQing, reverb, and auto pitch, which is basically an auto tune. I use it mostly for the texture more than the pitching. This auto pitch plugin is also free. These plugs play at the intro with the beatbox. What I wanted to share with you is also the voice of Colaps when he say, "Hold up, let me fuck it up.
Hold up, let me fuck it up. Hold up, let me fuck it up."
I put a layer on the voice which is distorted, panned.
Hold up, let me fuck it up.
And maybe there is some chorus here, actually chorus, EQing, clipping, which is distortion, fast distortion, which is high saturation. It is both on the left and on the right over the main voice.
Hold up, let me fuck it up. Hold up, let me fuck it up.
You will hear better with headphones again. And same happens at the bridge.
Hold up, let me fuck it up. Hold up, let me fuck it up.
And now comes the time for the keys. Okay, let's listen back to the drop. Okay, so what happens here is that I have many key layers, the main one being this one. It is rendered, so you have to know that this audio file has got two textures. I will go back to it after explaining in the composition the different layers. So we have this, and then it goes an octave up. And you can feel a little gap of time between the high note and the main note. It doesn't do 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 do. It does glue glue glue. You get it? My pitch is terrible, but don't mind it. Then there are some other layers like this. This. And what's super interesting in my opinion is that there are some reverse keys which are from some layers that I reversed. It's playing the same note. And the same happens on the second drop. And there are some other layers. It's pretty much the same keys than the first drop, but the parameters and some textures are a bit different. Here you can find another high-pitched layer. And what I did to bring the drop is to use this layer, the super high-pitched one, which is I think this one 2 octaves up. Yeah, I think that's it. And what I did is that I borrowed it before the first drop. Here, but with pitch automation. And in the context, you can hear the melody coming, but really faintly. I don't know if that's a word.
Hold up, let me fuck it up.
And I think this is a super contrast because this is super high, I mean compared to this. So it creates a contrast and it comes back at the second part of the drop. So I love it.
Hold up, let me fuck it up.
Back to the original project with the MIDI sequences, and here I can show you the different layers on the keys. The first main keys are these. And these keys have 2 layers. The first one is this. It's a serum layer, which is the reverse thing as well, if I'm not mistaken, with additional reverb. And the other layer is this. Then we have these other keys, one's using voice, which I recorded. And the other layer is from Capsule as well. These are strings. We have this pluck layer, which is from Capsule as well. You can deal with the parameters. And what makes the thing interesting is this extra note. In the main keys, here you can find the little gap of the octave note. If it was at the same time, it would sound like this. And to be honest, I highly prefer this. Cling, 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 cling. And with this layer, sorry, the CPU is dying, that's why I rendered the audio to make the breakdown project. So I think in terms of keys and all the other elements, we are good. Now I want to talk about the effects and probably the intro brasses, which make the chords. Let's go first for the brasses at the intro, using Capsule as well and some automations. They come back at the bridge, playing the same chords.
Are you ready? Hold up.
For these brasses, we have 2 instruments, a brass playing chords, and the other instrument is a basic sine wave note playing the root note. The thing is that this bass has some effects like Camel Crusher for distortion. It would just be a sub bass without harmonics if there was no distortion, and basic EQing. For the texture, I use this preset in Capsule. And the last thing are the effects, which are basically just some cymatics effects or various effects from other packs, maybe sometimes my own, basically just this riser thing. And there are also some snares in the build-up. It's really subtle. 16th note snares. that was a pretty long and pretty tough video to shoot. I hope you learned something. If you have any question, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if not done already, not to miss the later content. See you next time.